So I just beat the in real life lap record around the Nürburgring in a 2023 BMW M2 on Forza Motorsport, and here is how I did it. So first up are the upgrades and modifications that I done to this car. On Forza Motorsport, the gear changes feel very sloppy. Now I've actually owned one of these. I've owned a 220D G42 2 Series 2023 plate, and the gearbox was phenomenal. The gear changes were so fast when you put it in sport mode and use the paddle shifts, but on Forza Motorsport the gear changes feel very sloppy. So to combat that, I did do a few things. The first being in the engine tab, the flywheel. I did put a lightweight flywheel in this, and I also went along to the drivetrain and put a sport transmission, diff and clutch in it. This sorted out those sloppy gear changes, and they did make it a bit more realistic. Next up, the car did feel a little bit all over the place, and I'm sure when they done the Nürburgring lap time, they probably put some decent, softer race tyres on. So I did put on the race tyres as well. As well as that, I wanted to be able to adjust the springs and dampening and the alignment to more of a racing alignment, so I did put on the front and the rear anti-roll bars and the race spring and dampers. Also, the stock brakes felt very bad. They felt like they didn't do anything at all, so I did put on the racing brakes too. But that's it. I did want to keep this car as stock as possible, so I didn't make any power changes or anything like that. It was just those few little bits that I said about. So next up is the tune. Obviously I'll put on those anti-roll bars and the racing suspension so I could change it as I see fit. I'm sure they would have done this on the day when they got to the Nürburgring. I'm sure they put a really racy alignment on it, so that's what I done too. So as for the tyres, I didn't change these. As for the gearing, I also didn't change this. As for the alignment, I did put a little bit more negative camber on the front, and I took out a little bit of the rear camber too. I added a little bit of toe out on the front just for that turn-in response, but I also added a little bit of toe in on the rear too, just to keep the car pointing in a straight line for that little bit of extra stability. As for the anti-roll bars, I did reduce these just a little bit, as well as the springs too. But other than that, that was pretty much it. I didn't touch anything else. I left the diff alone. I left all the brakes alone, everything like that. So this car is pretty much stock. I think it's fair to say that it's probably about the same as the in real life Nürburgring track time. Like I say, they would have put a really racy alignment on it, and I'm sure they would have put some better tyres on it too. So onto the lap now, and as you can see, I did have a rolling start. This did actually put me at a disadvantage. If you go and watch the BMW M2 2023 Nürburgring lap time, you can actually see that he crosses the line doing about 60 or 70 mile an hour. So instantly I did put myself at a disadvantage, but that's okay. I do beat it in the end. And also, as you can see on screen now, I do have the racing line turned on for corners. This is purely because the Nürburgring Nordschleife is massive. It's what, 20.8 kilometers long. There's no way that I'm going to know every single corner straight away. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I normally have this turned off. And in the future, when I've done 1,000 more laps of the Nürburgring, I'll probably turn it off on this track too. But for now, doing these time trials, it helps so much, and I am going to keep it on. If you're struggling with the Nürburgring and you keep on crashing or going off track, then I suggest you use this too. It honestly helps so much. I don't care what anyone says. So onto the car now. What do I think of this 2023 BMW M2? Well, to be honest, when you first buy this car from the auto show, it's not very good. First up are the brakes and the tyres. The tyres themselves let go really easily, and the brakes, they just don't stop you. If you're trying to brake on the corner, you haven't got a chance in hell. The car will just either lock up and slide, or just won't do anything at all. The tyres are so unresponsive, the brakes just don't have the stopping power that you need. Then onto the gearbox. Like I said earlier, I had a 220D version of this car, and even the gearbox in that was phenomenal. It was so fast, it was lightning fast. The double clutch transmission is wicked from BMW, and Forza's just ruined it on this game. It is so sloppy, it feels terrible, it ruins your lap times. So that's why I made these modifications. Like I said in the start of the video, I put the race transmission and clutch in, I put that lighter flywheel in, I put the race suspension on, I put the race tyres on, the anti-roll bars and those bigger brakes. So now I'm not trying to bullshit you guys, this car feels like a BMW M2 should, and it feels like what I believe the BMW M2 is in real life and feels in real life. So these modifications that I've done aren't to make it go faster, they're just to make it feel like it would in real life. So the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is this track, the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Now I think I was a bit harsh to it when it first came out. I think I was expecting a little bit more, and it was a bit harsh. I was saying it felt a little bit flat. There wasn't any immersion in it because the trees were too far away from the track and the spectators were too far away from the track, that sort of thing. But to be honest, now I've done about 100 laps on this track, I fucking love it. Honestly, it's such a good track. Like I said earlier about the distance, it's really hard to know where you are on the track, and I love that. It's not like one of these speedway ovals where you just get bored going round and round and round. every lap seems to be different because you don't know the track, and that means you have to be on it all the time. You can't be sloppy, you can't afford to make any stupid little mistakes that you could probably recover from if you knew the track. This track isn't like this. On this track, I find if I make a mistake, then that's it, that's the lap over. I'm spinning out, I'm going into the wall, I can't recover it. Whereas on other tracks, you either make a tiny little mistake, no mistake at all, or you make a sort of bigger error that you know you can compensate by going into the next corner at a slightly different angle or a slightly different position in the road. You can always combat your mistakes if you know the track, but on this track I just don't know it, so it keeps me on edge all the time. Every lap is different, like I say, and also the reputation it has. This track is known as the green hell, so even playing it just on Forza, you get a sense of satisfaction and gratitude. So I'm going to hold my hands up and say I apologise for being harsh about this track when it first came out, and I do absolutely love it now. Of course, there's things that they should have changed. This track is a direct rip from Forza Motorsport 7, so some of the issues that the track had in that game, they've now passed on to this game because it is an exact rip, like I say. Some of the curbs are wrong, some of the undulations are wrong, but it doesn't matter. When you're actually in the game, you're playing, you're racing, none of that matters. All that matters is if you hit that apex right and you get a good lap time. So yeah, I mean, if you've liked this video this far, then please do leave a like, a comment and subscribe. It does mean the world to me. And what do you guys think? Do you want to see me go head to head with some more in real life times? Do you want me to make this a sort of weekly series that I do every week? Maybe show some of my crashes, some of my fails, some of my slower lap times as well? Or if you want to see me do this in specific cars, let me know in the comments below. I'm honestly all ears at this point. I love Forza Motorsport. I think the game's actually in quite a good place now. I personally am having some fun with this, so I'll definitely be playing more. I will note that this video was recorded pre-update 6, which has some massive changes to the AI as well as the car leveling system, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video. There will be more on that in the next one. So I think with this included, the future of this era's Forza Motorsport does seem bright. However, I do feel that people have lost interest and aren't picking up the game again, but I feel you definitely should. There have been so many quality of life changes as well as new cars and tracks, and if you haven't played for a while, definitely re-download the game and give it a go. It's not quite on par with Gran Turismo and it still feels a little bit too arcadey, but it's on Game Pass, so it's basically free. So like I say, give it a download, give it a couple of hours of your time, and let me know what you think in the comments below. So I think I've spoken enough in this video. There's a couple of minutes left of this lap for you guys to enjoy with the lap times at the end. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I say, if you want to see more in real life versus Forza Nürburgring lap times, let me know. So I'll shut up now, enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, boys and girls.